reason not hesitate to take risks. And I got to that point through some experiences that I had throughout my life. But here's what I want to say to you. When I say take a risk, one of the things that's going to happen to you, if you really take risk, legitimate risk, you will have some failures. And I didn't say you might, right? You will have some failures. And now, I also have gotten to the point where there's a reason for the failure. Sometimes, and you can't see it. So you have to have faith. And that faith is that, you know, when I was at one of the high points I thought in my life, I've been a successful sheriff, and we'll talk about that. You know, national prominence and all of that. So I run for mayor. Yeah, one might consider somewhat the natural next step. Well, I did run, and I lost. Now, when I lost, for whatever reason, I was comfortable with that. As a matter of fact, I was still walking around, and I would walk into places. People want to take a picture. Want me to hold it, take a picture. Oh, he's talking like I was this rock star. And some of my friends who were with me, they would step up and get close to my ear and say, "You know you lost, don't you?" I know I lost. But as you see this presentation, I think I lost that mayor's race because I needed to go back to my alma mater, Boardwalk College. And that loss and that journey back was one of the greatest lessons in my life. So I say to all of you, be bold. Step up. The Lord lays it on your heart. Believe me, you're going to be all right. Either way. You don't hang your head. You keep moving on. And as we look at this PowerPoint here, I am so glad to be at a point where I get a chance to write about my life. And the only thing I wish about this is I wish I had started earlier, which people had encouraged me to do. But I just thought it would be a nice, oh, you've done this and you've done that. You need to write about it. Thank you. Also, that's so nice. But quite often people are so disingenuous, they don't want to tell you the bad news, so they just say something good, right? But I'm glad I got to the point to add, instead of just former sheriff, educator, community activist, and what? Author, yes. All right, don't be a hater. Author, I'm glad. So, striving for justice. And it's so appropriate that that's the title of the book. Because one of the things I always wanted to be was a detective. And the reason I wanted to be a detective is because I can give some people some breaks sometimes. You know, I mean, there are people I thought we needed to put in jail, didn't hesitate to, but then there were some circumstances and some times where instead of putting them in jail, might go on their whole life, you give them a break. You know, catch a person with a marijuana, step on it, it's going to catch you again. Right? Both of them was in the purview of my authority, right? So that's why I wanted to be in a position where I can do something. You know, if you're a judge, instead of giving somebody 5 years, you might give them 3 or 2. Whatever the Lord lays on your heart. Striving for justice. A black sheriff in the deep south. Now, here's what you talk about beginnings. Humble beginning. Now, that photograph there could very well be a mug shot. Oh yes, because I was arrested when I was 17 years old. And I was arrested because I had 2 napkins. You know, in a restaurant, wrapped the silverware, I had 2 napkins in my pocket. Working at Marvin cafeteria, got stopped by the police, searched me, put me in jail, stealing the 2 napkins. Now that was one of those situations, if I'm the detective, you could give a break to. But these detectives decided they were going to arrest me. So, it was right. You know, the napkins belonged to the cafeteria where I was working, so they put me in jail. But, you know, sometimes the Lord moved in mysterious ways. I say the Lord moved in mysterious ways. Yes. Don't tell me forgot. So, and I actually grew up humble beginnings. That's what you call a shotgun house. Now, what you can't see is the historic sheriff standing over there on the side. Can you see me? If some of y'all can't see it, like that house is exactly like the house I grew up in. Now I'm standing on the property where my house was, but they had torn mine down, but that one was exactly like it. And that's where the Lord brought me from. And I say the Lord brought me from because I got a lot of help. A lot of assistance. When I say I got a lot of help, Linda Veneer, she smiled, and I know what she was saying. Yeah, well, I had help a few times. So, but I always appreciate that. But it's one of those things that how you grew up, how you handle things, that's who you are. And all of that contributed to me standing here before you. So, a shotgun house is where I'm talking to family. I'm talking my mother, father, sister, and brothers. Actually, 2 sisters and a brother. 6 of us in that house. That's Nathaniel and R.C. B. Glover, who I'm going to tell you had a tenacious work ethic. And for whatever reason, she put that in me. Now, she had some help because in the 1st grade, when I was in the 1st grade, I got retained. Now, some of you all may not know what that means, but on the street, they call it put back. You remember that, don't you? Held back, right?
Yeah.
But let me just say this. It was traumatic, and I still today don't know why. never wanted to be a person who people will say he's inadequate or he can't do what he's supposed to do at the level that others are doing. So for whatever reason, in my mind, my reaction was, I'm going to make certain that I'm going to be better. So I developed this. If I got a job, I'm coming in before anybody, and I'm going to be the last one to leave. And that was a tremendous asset. A negative to a what?
Positive.
Let me tell you this. Some of the worst things that happen to you, when sometimes you look back, the best thing that happened to you. And some of those things you thought was the best thing that could have happened, and you look back and take inventory, I wish that hadn't happened. You know, so that's the reason I talk about with conviction, faith. Faith. Now, I'm going to say these were two people who made sure that I got it right. I always thought my mom and dad, you ever see the TV shows where they have the good cop and the bad cop? Yeah. My mom was the bad cop. And my dad was the good cop. He always tried to mitigate some of the, punishment imposed by the bad cop. But to this day, I believe that's what I need. That's what I need. So, one of the worst days of my life, working at that cafeteria, got off work one day and walked into a mob of Ku Klux Klan and white racists. All of them armed with axe hammers and baseball bats. Now, the reason I walked into that mob was because there were some demonstrations going on, some sit-in demonstrations, which I was not a part of. They came to town to confront the demonstrators. And I happened to be working at that cafeteria that day. And our boss came in and told us to get out of town. Stop what you're doing right now and get out of town. There's trouble outside. But that work ethic of mine, my job was the job that I did after everybody left. And that was mop the floor. But he said, get out of here now. But I couldn't leave because I felt like I had to mop that floor. So when I left, everybody else had been gone for maybe an hour. But those axe handle, baseball bat holding racists were outside waiting. And I walked into the middle of it. And they started hitting me with those bats and axe handles. And I'm looking at a police officer who's standing there watching them, but he's playing a perfect role as a spectator. And I said to him, help me. And he said to me, You better get out of here before they kill you. And I ran. And I ran. And I was so afraid, terrified. I could have died that day. I could have died that day. Now, people talk about that person, that police officer that was standing there, that didn't help me. That could have been the worst thing in the world. I decided to look at it like, maybe, although he didn't help me, but maybe the reason they didn't kill me was because he was standing there watching. So I'd rather look at it like that, but in any event, I'm here talking to you today. So he didn't kill me, right? That was kind of weak. He didn't kill me, right? Right. All right. Okay. So, what was supposed to kill me, what does it say?
Made me stronger.
Only made me stronger. And you know how? Because when I got home, I was crying. I was afraid, terrified in the word. But when I got home, I made a pledge to myself that I would never run away from another fight. I would rather die first. I promised myself that. I promised myself I will never do something that I shouldn't have done, but I was afraid not to do it. Never. Or not do something I should do because I was afraid. I have to do it and take the consequences. Now that helped me in my career as a police officer. That helped me big time. Because some of my colleagues will ask me sometimes, let me ask you something. Do you have a death wish? That's what they would ask me. That's what they would ask me because I would take chances. I would run in burning houses and pull people out to save them. But while I was doing all of that, I was doing it because I could not do it. Here I am in the backyard standing looking at a house that's on fire, and I could see a man lying in the kitchen. I knew if I didn't go in there to try to get him, that I would have to live with that. That's what that kind of Sabbath did for me. Intended to be the worst day, the redeeming value, it helped me have some of my best days. Because when your peers see you do something like that, you are the topic of conversation. I'm serious. So, bad day, not all bad. Now,
Love it.
okay, let's go back right now. Let's just get that off the table. But let me tell you about that. Graduation day in college. Captain of the football team while I was in college. None of that would have happened. But the Lord stepped in again. Because in my neighborhood, I'm hanging out with the guys. And I went to my mother. And I told her, look, Mom, see, I'm the only one in the neighborhood Bobby, he's the guy that I was hanging out with, he always got a pocket full of money. Marvin got a car. And Charles, he got a girlfriend. I ain't got none of that. And see, Mom, what I'm going to ask you is, she stopped. Let me help you with that, son. And here's what she said, I'll never forget it. If you're going to stay in this house, you're going to school. Now that day, I didn't think she was the coolest mom. Really. I didn't think she was the coolest mom. But I got to that point. Now remember, I got a record. I got arrested for larceny. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a detective. But, you know, you got an arrest. You don't want to be a police officer here in Jacksonville. But you know what? It turned out to be a blessing. Turned out to be a blessing. Because, in case you don't understand what that is, that's me being sworn in as sheriff. So one could conclude that somehow I okayed the arrest. Right? Okay, see, I know being a detective, let me help you out here a little bit. If I ended up being sworn in as sheriff, then that means that the arrest was not a deal breaker, right? Let me tell you why it wasn't a deal breaker. Because when I put in my application to become a police officer, everybody said it wasn't going to happen. Even the people in the Civil Service Board said it wasn't going to happen. He got an arrest. And besides that, we ain't that happy about hiring black officers anyway. So we certainly not going to hire him. But one of the police officers took me to see the mayor of the city of Jacksonville because he knew the mayor. So I can tell my story. And I can remember when he told me. He said, tell me your story again. I told him how I was arrested and how I got arrested. He said, I can't believe this. I'm going to take you up to see the mayor. I said, okay, where do you want me to go? He said, we're going right now. I said, right now? The way I'm dressed? He said, yeah, we're going right now. So now, a little apprehensive about him really knowing the mayor. But I said, okay, I'll go anyway, so I'm just going with it. Because I really, no reason not to. But I'm thinking in my, you really don't know the mayor. And besides that, you don't just walk in the mayor's office, without an appointment. I'm just walking in there and me put on get this over. He walked into the mayor's office, the secretary jumped up. Hey, Marvin, how it sure? I said, oh my goodness, we owe you something here. He took me in there and talked to the mayor of City of Jacksonville, Lou Ritter. Lou Ritter went down to the Civil Service Administration building, told the administrator, I want Nathaniel to take the test to become a police officer. And she told the mayor, oh no, I saw his application, and I know he got a college degree and all of that, but we don't hire people who've been in jail. And by the way, I don't work for you, I will work for that 5-person Civil Service Board. He said, okay. where they were not that happy about employing black officers anyway. So I could have taken the test and then come back and say, sorry, he failed. But knowing that the mayor was going to be what? Reviewing my application and processing and all, they had to tell the truth. The worst thing happened to me turned out to be what? Again, divine intervention. And here I am standing before the judge, being sworn in as sheriff for this county. And you can see, before I was sworn in, the former sheriff, Jim McMillan, who's one of my best friends, what was the headline he said? It's up there. Read it. In Jacksonville. And certainly one that just got out of jail. But was able to overcome all of that. Listen, I'm very proud of Jacksonville. Jacksonville elected me a historic sheriff in the state of Florida. And all our people came together to do that. Democrats, Republicans, white, black, north side, south side, came together to elect me. And I made a commitment then that I was not going to let these people down. See, sometimes you're being prepared for something. You don't know what it is, but you just have to keep pushing. You just have to get up when you get knocked down, because you will go down. Did I say Mike? You will go down at some point in life. But Mama said, you're going to school. Now, when I became sheriff, one of the things that's weaved into my psyche is whatever I do, I want to be the best at it. I'm going to find a way to be better than my peer group. I told you I come in early, right? I told you I'm going to be the last one to leave, right? Well, now I'm a historic sheriff in the state of Florida. Everybody watching. Everybody watching. Some watching with their fingers crossed, and others are waiting for him to what? Yeah. But I had to get it right. Well, let me tell you something. Lord, stay away. Telling you, I talk to as many people as I can talk to. And I'm prepared to be sheriff of Jacksonville. And do you all remember I used to walk with these?
Yes.
You remember I used to walk through the neighborhood? I came up with that. And people say, oh, he just walked in the neighborhood so he can get television coverage. Well, 408 times during the time I was in office. You think that if I just looked at the TV cover, I would have gotten the message by then, right? But not only that, you see me walking through the neighborhood. You saw me put police officers' names on the cars. You saw me implement a show, Signal 94. Had that show on every week. That if you wanted to know something about the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, you can call in and say, why did you not solve this crime? Why did you not cover this, that, or the other? Because, why? I wanted to do the job better than anybody had done it before. As a matter of fact, I was walking the beach with such commitment and dedication that I get a call one morning. Who's on the line? The President of the United States. Stop kidding. I want to know who's on the line.
Yes.
Pick the phone up. It's the President. Sheriff, I want to come down and I want to walk through a neighborhood with you. And incidentally, I'm going to bring the Attorney General with me. And they did. That's Bill Clinton walking through one of the neighborhoods in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, when that happens, all of my peers want to know, how did you pull that off? And see, they don't know the backstory. They just know what they say. But I'm telling you now, this was one of the highlights in law enforcement in the whole country. So, I'm saying to you, the reason that I stand here as a former sheriff is because I had a lot of help. Had a whole lot of people that believed in me. I'm just saying that all you have to do is step out and have faith and be committed to it, and it'll happen. May not go exactly like you want it to go, because it might get a little tweaked, it might get a little changed, but you hang in there with the faith. I believe to this day that my unsuccessful run for mayor gave me an even greater opportunity to make a difference. I believe that today to the core of my heart. Because I went to my alma mater, who needed me at that particular time, to probably save him to a point now, when I talk about my alma mater, I'm talking about Edward Waters University.
Yes.
Wait a minute now. Edward Waters University.
Yes. Yes.
One of the greatest times in my life. And I lost the mayor's race. And my colleagues kidding me about it. How many times they told me, you know you lost, right? But Lord had something else for me. And Can anybody read that headline? Somebody who passed reading in high school, read that headline.
Sheriff pays $240,000 in suspension for 40-year felons.
Shame on me. I've been blessed to that point if I didn't help somebody. And here's what I knew. Throughout my career in law enforcement, the people we were putting in jail, and 85% of them were what? High school what?
Dropouts.
And here I am, my whole career, put them in jail. And I know these statistics, I got to go. As a matter of fact, the proceeds from this book will go to fund scholarships. And I'm gonna tell you, people try to talk me out of it. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? You should be doing that. But I'll tell you, to this day, I haven't missed a dime. Now my wife used to tease me about a few shopping trips she could have gone on.
That's what we're gonna do.
But we're just fine. And I'm just gonna tell you, after putting people in jail for 38 years, I was motivated to take steps to help others put themselves in a position where they will shine. You know what? You know what? I'll tell you something. Some of the best minds in this country end up on the corner sometimes selling drugs. Because they don't have the resources to get a formal education so they can be in a position where they can work. So I was committed to doing that. So, Dr. Nathaniel Glover received the Rotary Club's what? Sister Mary was here. I wanted to make sure I kind of showed out a little bit. The Rotary Club and all of that. And what? Read that last statement on the bottom. Can anybody see it?
If I have a priority, I still don't make a difference. Then shame on me.
Now you get all of this recognition, all of the things. Here you are, big time sheriff. You got 2,500 people answering to you, and you don't make a difference? I would consider that a failure. So I get the Great Floridian Award, and then, what's up top there? Let me tell you something. That is the epitome of raising your head above your peer group. So, I say to you, some of the worst things could have happened to me. But you know what? People came together to help me. When I decided to run for sheriff, somebody said to me, "Oh, so you gonna get out there and embarrass yourself now? You gonna run for sheriff? Can I ask how much money you got in the bank?"
Wow.
You know what? People came from places I didn't know exist. Said, "I'm gonna help you." Steve and Gary Paget, a person who had run for governor, and his brother who had run his campaign, came up and said, "We gonna help you, and it's not gonna cost you a dime." That was divinely ordered. So, when I stand here before you as a former sheriff, an educator, community leader, and all of that, I stand here because of a lot of you. And I know we're kind of polarized a little bit now, but we are stronger together. And you know what? I think we're better than we've been acting. So I want to thank you. And when I see the mayor walking toward me, see me being a detective, I understand clues.
No, I just have to say, when you said, and then the mayor walked in, all of y'all looked back, and I know you thought you were looking for Don and Deegan. So that was fun. That was fun for my self-esteem. Thank you. No, but I do have time for some questions if you're willing to take some.
I am.
Okay. Did he cover it all? All right, there we go. March is
What would be your best idea on how to turn the city around from all the violence?
Yeah.
Well,
There's a softball for you.
yeah. One of the things that's happening in law enforcement now is the fact that there's a lot, I'm going to say, well, too much of our citizens who entertain mistrust of law enforcement. Now let me tell you what mistrust will do. Mistrust probably won't encourage people to go out and commit crimes. It might do for some, but to a great degree. What happens is there will be a lot of people who can help you as it relates to solving crime, won't step forward. And so what we're going to have to do is what I talked about earlier. When I was sheriff, I was committed. I had this philosophy in my head that I was going to do everything I did. I was going to send a message, subtle or verbal, that I am doing this so that you know that you can trust me. So if I have a questionable shooting by one of my officers, instead of people want to march in the street, they say, Sheriff Glover will take care of that. But you don't get that free. You have to earn that. That's why I told you I walked the beach, asked them, how are we doing? How can we be better? I put police officers' names on their cars. They didn't want their names on the cars. And their wives and their grandmamas and all, they called me and said, what are you trying to do? Expose my son? And I raised the educational level of police officers. And if I went into a neighborhood and it was cluttered with debris and all of that, I didn't call public works. I went into jail, got some of my inmates, and we went through that neighborhood and cleaned it up. Because I knew if we cleaned the neighborhood up, when those same citizens see something happen, they're going to get on the phone and call you. I used to be standing up for people in public. And I would say, hey, we had some break-ins in the neighborhood. Can you help me with that? I said, do you know who they're doing?
He didn't mean you.
No. But we gotta work together. Law enforcement in this country is not an occupied military-like organization. We have to work with the system. Anybody else?
It's what about, sir?
Hi. I think a lot of things when you came into office in '95, all we had were beepers, not cell phones, and all people do nowadays is just take video of it and don't do anything about it. That's one of our big problems here. And you didn't have that issue. I mean, you were a great sheriff and you tried everything you could do, but I think that's one of the problems now, having cell phones. People don't want to get into it. They just want to take video of it, not do anything.
I think that's a brilliant observation. But let me tell you this. You know, what we call that is progress in our society.
Yeah.
We have just progressed to that point. And it has put law enforcement in the limelight to the degree of what you see. Because now police officers, you know, in the past, they might be able to do some things that you might consider blatant misconduct.
Yeah.
But then no one would know about it other than maybe that police officer and his partner or some other police officers. And certainly the culture is they don't tell on each other. So, and the police officer will say, you know, I didn't do that. He said I did, but I didn't do that. But now everybody walking around in this city or in this country, they got a camera in their hand. Now, what does that do? It does present a challenge. But it presents a challenge that we in law enforcement has to solve. And then when we solve that problem, we will be better. We will be better. When we decided and the Supreme Court ruled that any suspect, before you question them, you have to advise them of their rights and that they have a right to an attorney. You have to do that now. At that time, police officers thought that's the worst thing that could happen. We'll never get another confession. But what happened? It made law enforcement better. So you hit those challenges, you deal with them, and then when you move on, you're better. And that's what's going to happen here. And that's what's going to happen. They've changed some laws. They even changed the law now. If your partner mistreats somebody and you let them mistreat somebody, you are liable too. By law. So that's what I'm saying. We have to deal with it, be creative in our remediation, and it makes us better. Yeah.
What's your hope for the next chapter for Native Waters?
Well, I'm hoping that they do something that I always had a vision to do that I couldn't exactly pull off. And that is open a college of nursing. I would like to see that, and I would like to see it because there is a significant shortage of nurses in healthcare, and I think most universities should be contributing to that.
Hey, you're almost next door to the machine, so.
And a lot of other major medical institutions. So I would like to see that. And this president has, made some advances, and I'm proud of it. Proud of it. Yes. Thank you for that question. Yes.
Well, at the time when you were sheriff, people were scared to go to jail because you took the TVs from them and you made them bologna sandwich.
Yes.
And the learning sandwich.
Wait, I love a good one. Good for you.
Yeah.
Maybe not every day.
Yeah, I was trying to forget that.
I thought it was great.
It was, and I can tell you right now, I campaigned on that, and I'm going to say that it was was a significant number of people crossed over and voted for me because of that. And the guys, they kind of got used to that because I used to talk to them when I was in the neighborhoods and sent inmates in there to clean up. I was right alongside them, talking to them. And so I kind of knew what was going on in the jail. And I didn't have one say to me that they were so upset about that. So apparently they accepted it pretty good. And I don't know if it's still going on now, but I haven't heard anybody mention it. So 5 minutes after I left, I stopped.
One question, what would you say was your biggest challenge during time as the sheriff?
My biggest challenge, that's a good question. When I was elected sheriff, I had a situation where I had a police force that was 85% white males. And the white males in the department didn't support me. And I got elected, and I had to find a way to win them over. And they did some things after I got elected, and that was kind of obviously trying to impede my progress. I remember my dive team came in, and everybody decided they did not want to be on the dive team anymore. So they just quit. And so now here we are in a major city. We got a car that goes off in the river or something. I don't have a dive team. But then I have one of the officers walk in my office and say, Sheriff, here's the situation. He said, tomorrow this time, count on it, you'll have a dive team ready to go. Another white officer. And he went out and polled every other person who had been on the dive team some time back and recruited them. And we put a dive team together. And I can tell you right now, the former sheriff, Mike Williams, was one of those that came on that dive team. And we had a dive team. I also had surrounding sheriffs call me and say, if you have an emergency, call me. You'll have a dive team there as quick as we can get there. You see? So that was the kind of issue. And I remember when I went out to another issue I had, I went out to the academy to talk to some of my officers who were all in service. And I told them, I said, listen, we're going to talk person to person. We'll get on the sheriff, get the rank, we're just going to be honest. And I started to talk to them about some of the problems that we're having now in law enforcement. And I was telling them the exact thing we talked about, and that is, we cannot allow ourselves to support some of these officers who are engaged in misconduct. And if you do that, then people will look at us as a whole and say, you can be doing the right thing. You walk in the grocery store shopping, somebody say, that's a police officer. They're going to say, they're all bad. So we're not helping the profession by keeping secrets because it's our colleague. One of the officers raised his hand, female officer, sergeant. Say, yeah, Sheriff, we hear you, but that's why nobody don't like you. Said it right there in front of the class. And I said to her, I understand, but it's the right thing to do. Now people were saying, you ought to do this to her, you ought to do that. I said, no, we made the agreement in front. And I'm thinking with me, she spoke up. But that's where I was. And those are the challenges that I had. But here's what I will say to you, and I wouldn't stand here and exaggerate it. After about, I'm going to say 3 years, after standing in the hall, close my eyes, and grab any one of my white officers and say, run to their wall. Without hesitation or reservation, they would.
Good for you.
You had to win them over. And people were telling me, you tell them who the sheriff is. Don't let them get away with all of that. That's not the way to handle situations. You have to do what's necessary to win people over, where they will want to come over, not you forcing them over. And that's why when you look at law enforcement, Florida Law Enforcement Hall of Fame, you don't get that because you were the first black sheriff. You got that because in my 8 years in office, we reduced crime in the city of Jacksonville 17%. And when the mayor comes stand by me,
I'm hoping for a good ride there. Perfect timing.
I would say that was the last question, son.
Scheduled to be on.
But you know, our mutual friend, Charlene Shirk back there, who's doing such a wonderful job with the PR and helping with your book launch, has sent me a few reminders, or some news that she wanted me to let everybody know. I think this is breaking news, right? So I'm excited that I get to announce that your book is the #1 top new release on Amazon. The convenience of crime shopping and giving Jeff Bezos all my money. I do want to say a big thank you to the bookmark who is out here. Rona and Brittany are out there selling the book, and we will go out there in just a little bit to have your copy signed if you would like that, if you're willing, hopefully, because we advertise this as a signing. The other news is that this book was accepted by the Duval County Public Schools as part of their African American
wonderful.
So you guys were here first. A few, maybe not first, early, but a few events that are still coming up. The book launch celebration is tomorrow, so this was the pre-launch celebration. It's a ticketed event. It's down at the Ritz Theater, and then you see several other events there. You know how we love our QR codes now. If you want to sign up for any of those events, use that. And if you would please be so kind as to scan our QR code that John is holding on the way out to give us a little survey. It's very quick and easy. We just want to hear what you thought about the event, the venue, the time, all of that good stuff. And we really appreciate your feedback, and so glad to have you here tonight. Take a piece of Katie's birthday cookie cake on your way out, and have a wonderful evening. We're going to go out this side door and we'll meet you out front.
I knew. You knew.
was, I was 3 months and 13 days old.
Okay.
at San Jose.
No, I read about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's my kid, because I read that he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Already had a good idea. He
Yeah.
just said, I have nothing to do.
There's a guy who's an alumnus of Edward Waters who gives a speech. His name is John Hurst. He was late teens, early 20s when that happened, and he gives because he has a book called It Was More Than About a Hot Dog on a Coke. Yeah, and he gives a great rendition of that. Because he was here, when was John Lewis? He was here when they had the emancipation of Florida, you know, like June 10th, but it was Florida. And he gave a speech right here in this about accent. Sad. How's your husband?
Oh, he's fine. You don't need to go. I know you don't need to go.
No, come on. Well, can you pull that tape up that way?
Oh, is it right here?
Yeah, right over there. You go out.
Yeah, let me-
I'll follow you behind the door.
Yeah, let me move that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Rita. Somebody left something.
Someone left, Chris. Chris, someone left their water bottle.
Yeah.
I was laying in the front.
Yeah, so the screen and everything's gonna stay here because